It's that time again. It's another Stark Dark Open series. After the success of the first one, they're hosting a second one. Once again, doing standard and retro, this time on November 1st and November 2nd. It's going to be in Illinois at Impact Gaming Center. And if you want to find out more info as we get closer to the date of the tournaments, check out this link. Okay, y'all. I got the craziest Armin Colossus was a Power of the Colossus deck profile of all time. So this this came together in like a fever pitch at like 6 in the morning, but I promise you this deck is legit. This is probably the best of any of these retro deck profiles I've done, just because Armin Arler is such a crazy character. Um, but so the idea of this deck is, for some reason, the fire symbol has lots of cards that manipulate face down cards thanks to Metal Man support. And there's a weird amount of cards that unflip face downs on fire, and they do like two at a time. So I'm going to start with probably the most important card in the deck, a Heavenly Match. This is a 4 diff 4 check with F, remove this card from the game, search your discard pile for a mid or high attack with a difficulty of 3 or less and add it to your hand. And then form, remove this card from the game. You may turn up to 2 face down cards in your staging area face up. So it's kind of wild that it just unflips 2 foundations, but it also goes and gets us a cheap attack, which you're going to see is definitely how this deck wants to win. Spoiler alert, Besiege is a 3 difficulty or less attack. So to go with it, we also have the card Smug Satisfaction. This card has 3 abilities. The worst of them is probably E-Destroy, draw a card. Not a great rate these days, but it's hard to deny drawing a card being strong. Enhance Commit, discard up to 2 face down cards from your card pool. Only playable during your opponent's turn is fine, because people be doing some nasty card pool clogging shenanigans. So, yin and yang players are all over retro. You can just E-commit to kind of counteract that, which is sick. But F, destroy this foundation. Both players may turn up to 2 face down foundations in their staging area face up. Again, kind of weird that it's 2 at a time, but this character, Armin, is perfect for this. So I will say, off the top of my head, I did not see too many great options for building like a high difficulty asset and then unflipping it. There is the 7 diff asset. If you want to play that in this Armin deck, there's plenty of space. This deck is less than 70 cards. You can just add 1 asset to it and it's fine. But I didn't think any of that stuff was super duper strong. The strongest one I did include was Saw Blades, which starts out as a 4 diff asset, which is a tough ask, but it gives all your attacks plus 2 speed, which is already amazing. Already, that's just great for a character who gives 5 damage to now be getting 2 speed on everything. But form, flip, commit 1 card in your opponent's staging area is actually bonkers. I feel like this card was really underappreciated for its time, and I myself used to wonder why people would even bother running 1 of it, when you probably are going to end up blocking with it, because it's also a +1 high block. But nowadays, in the world we live in, being able to commit a character card is just super important. And the fact that it says commit 1 card also means it commits backups. So if your opponent's got that nasty 9 Titans in your way, you can just commit it, and this becomes a resource that you can use to pass checks. So very, very, very powerful stuff. I could easily see people wanting to play 2 of this, but it is unique, so you might run into some issues. Where the inspiration for this deck came was Deforester. What spawned this whole thing was I saw Deforester while looking at all symbol cards for the Terry deck, and I realized that it's only once per turn now. Unfortunately, it got errated. But you destroy a foundation. If the top card of your discard pile is not a foundation, add 1 card from your hand to your staging area face down and draw a card. So you destroy a committed foundation. It's, spoiler, a asset or a action or an attack that you built there earlier. And then you get to build another asset or action or attack from your hand face down, or something you want to unflip later. That's fine too. And then you get to draw a card. So that's really cool, but it's only once per turn, and Kirishima 2 got nerfed on his twice per turn because it's essentially a better version of that. So where this gets, crazy is these unflip cards. Armin can flip a foundation and then unflip it. On both sides of Armin, he has a flip cost. And when you flip this and then unflip it, you get that once per turn back. So you can pass a lot of checks. You can ready a foundation almost every enhanced step. Granted, Smug Satisfaction, you'd have to destroy a foundation to get this back, right? So you do have to really get something out of the activation, but it's an additional card draw. It's that ready foundation. It's the ability to tutor something like a Yelena's Machinations or a Titan Injection, even more so than Armin already was. And once you transform Armin, he loses the ability to build things face down from his hand, right? So having DeForester do that on the backside, I think, is really cool. So I'll continue with the foundations because they are like where the spice is, and that is Left for Dead. So E-commit, add a face down card from your staging area to your hand. I shouldn't have to explain why this one is busted in Armin. Just E-commit, draw a card from your stage when you've been banking stuff there this whole time. I mean, overhaul players could never, right? Overhaul players want this so bad. Just get a card you banked from earlier back into your hand. Get the right block zone back into your hand. Absolutely insane. And again, Armin can pretty much just flip cards at will when he needs to tutor the right block zone. So on top of that, you can turn it face down, and your reversal attack with a printed difficulty of 4 or less gets plus X damage. Maximum 5. X equals the number of face down cards in your stage, which is probably always going to be 5. So at a certain point in the game, you can flip this foundation and then sacrifice it for like plus 10 damage in this character, which is an insane way to close games out. Yelena's Machinations is just a staple in this character. You get to keep doing the outwit to play super greedy, and the enhance is not bad either, knowing what your checks are. Special Riot Control, super funny card here. Response flip after your opponent's ready phase, ready all face downs in your stage. That's going to be like every card in your stage after this one's flipped. After you flip this one, this will be like every card in your stage. So a great way to act like you are overcommitting and then build one of these, and then psych, actually, my whole stage is ready, and they were outwits. It's a great way to reuse outwits if you use an outwit on your own turn, which I guess I didn't actually include that many outwits here, but it's just the Elena's. But if you wanted to do the discard plan, you could probably find a way to force the rival to draw on retro on fire. It's probably not that hard, but Special Riot Control is just super funny. There's also a decent amount of range attack, so this attack is plus 2 damage for each range attack in your pool. I mean, everything is going to be swinging for like 8 plus, so Special Riot Control being able to add like 4 to 6 damage is not a thing to forget. It's not something to be overlooked. Capture the target. We're going to be playing long strings. We want to make the most use out of Armin's insane damage potential, and capture the target's going to let us do that easily. A Worthy Vessel is funny here. We needed some more high blocks, and discard pile shenanigans are crazy. So we were kind of tough to find good fire one diffs that weren't super beholden to a specific synergy. Most of them just sort of hate on something. So if you want to hate on momentum, there's a momentum one you can play instead. If you want to hate on the discard pile, you can do this one. And then it's got once per turn, you can lose a health for plus 2 or minus 2 damage. So I thought that was pretty solid for a one diff. Azure Nightmare is a 6 check. It's got an anti-stun ability. When you discard it, your rival's going to lose a health. But for the most part, this is just another version of Capture the Target, except now we can discard a card to trigger it. And then we've got our zeros. We've got Inhuman Speed, one of the nuttiest zero diffs ever printed. You can commit it for plus 3 speed if you have 3 momentum. It's maxed at 3, but it's equal to your momentum. So, once you've got like flash lightnings or like poke besieges in there and stuff like that, once you've got your momentum stacked up for Thunder Spear, Barrage, Echo, this one is going to convert that into stats. So very strong stuff. Also cancels life gain abilities. and then makes them lose 2 health. So a very funny counter to Templar on a 0 div. And then Debt to be Paid is another high block that we needed, and it's really strong for a 0 if you've taken damage, if you've lost health this turn. Your rival's next check to play a card gets -1. It's playable while committed, and it ends the turn. So that's just a great way for a character who's probably going to end up face tanking and doesn't have a ton of defense. You know, the defense for Armin is being able to play out your whole hand and still draw and block with cards. So this is a great way to slow the game down, to get to your transformation, to buy you 1 turn. Other cards that buy you 1 turn is Out of Your League. This is a generic response cancel. You might use the form more than we ever did in the past, but we almost never did in the past. Filled Without's another staple in there. You know, feel free to mix and match these ratios, but Heavenly Match was super important to include, so your action slots are tough, even for an Armin deck. And I've also got 3 copies of Know the Power of the Abyss in here. This is essentially your barrier shield in retro, only instead of giving you Breaker 2, you get to add an attack to your hand. So you get to add a reversal attack to your hand, and we'll talk about the attacks now because I've got a low block reversal, a mid block reversal, and a high block reversal. So this will tutor any block zone as long as you've got the cards in your discard pile. Flash Lightning is really, really funny here. It's a 1 diff that won't count towards progressive because none of these attacks are low. And then if your rival blocks this attack, it goes to your momentum. So you might have seen this before in the rando deck profile. This is just a really funny attack. When you're transformed in Armin, this is 8 damage. And your opponent has to take this 8 damage because if it goes to momentum, it's probably going to be a Thunder Spear Barrage Echo, which is more than 8 damage. So very funny stuff with Flash Lightning. Don't forget it's a reversal. You know, occasionally send an 8 damage move at your opponent. Yeah, it's 0 speed, but if they block it, you get momentum out of it. Seems good to me. Besiege is another card you can pick up with Heavenly Match. You know, it's super hard to block. It's basically unblockable so much of the time. This one is just another great one to put 5 damage on. Thunder Spear Barrage is your main Heavenly Match target. If you guys have played the Order Armin list in Standard, you know about Fierce Wings, you know about this card. Super duper gross. You can modify the speed and damage on it to be whatever you need it to be. Most of the time, people are echoing this for like 12 damage twice in a row. So again, if they block the Flash Lightning, that's an 8 damage move, but now they might get hit by the 12 damage move. So a fun gotcha moment. Crescent Moonhook is a reversal sweeping daggers, is the best way to put it, except it's got a copy and attack in their card pool. So for one, after you play it, it hates on momentum. But the main thing is the first enhance. If it was played as a reversal, you flip it face down. You then choose 1 attack in your opponent's card pool. This attack becomes an exact copy of the chosen attack with its own enhanced block and damage step. So what's super great about this one is it's your rival's attack, but plus 5 damage. And if you got Left 4 Dead out, it's plus 10 damage because it's a reversal that's 4 or less. So this is going to be a huge way to end games. If you chump your opponent down to like 10 health and they get scared and like, okay, I got to make something happen now this turn, you can block their first attack, reversal Crescent Moon Hook, and all of a sudden, whatever attack they just played is coming back at them, but now with Armin stats. And I think this one is just a lot of fun. I think Sweeping Daggers is fun. So I think this one is a great addition for this deck. Explosion is cool here because it spends your momentum. It's a very simple effect. This attack, it's multiple X. X equals your momentum. So if you get like 3 or 4 momentum, you just create 3 or 4 copies. They all wear plus 5 damage really well. It's Desperation 3. So when you are at 15 or less health, a Heavenly Match can add it to your hand. This one doesn't even say printed. Desperation changes printed difficulty for like no good reason, but this is another card where late in the game you can add it to your hand with Heavenly Match, but be careful because it does have this static that while it's in your card pool, reversal attacks get plus 2 difficulty, and that counts your own reversal attacks. So you got to be a little bit careful about how you use this 99.9% of the time. Explosion is the last attack you're playing for the turn, though, because it's a 4 diff 3 mid 3 that if you're not spending the multiple on it, it's really not super impressive. So it's a great candidate for building from your hand face down as a 2 diff. And last but not least is SRK Shirai Ryukon. This might actually be the strongest attack in the deck. It lets you tutor the top card of your deck. It lets you add a card from your discard pile to the top of your deck, and then gets 3 speed or 3 damage. So if you need to be fast, it's a 7 speed move, and Armin puts 5 damage on it. And again, you can left for dead to add like up to 5 more. If you need to draw a card with Armin, it stacks the top of your deck to draw. If you need it to just be even more damage, it can be like an 11 damage reversal. In Deadlock, it stuns, and stun reversals are kind of the way to go. So SRK is just a multi-format all-star, really, but just one of the best 4-diff attacks. People play it on their own turns all the time. Stacking, a good check to make your string cohesive and easy is the way I use it the most. But if your character is one that can draw a card on face, SRK is probably going to be tutoring an attack for you to play or an action for you to play. It's just very, very versatile, very strong stuff. And the main thing is these attacks, they don't have to be that good. Armin fixes all the damage problem. The main thing is you want to be able to play a lot of them throughout the turn, and that's what this deck is really good at. You're not starting off with the 4-diffs too often. It's probably the only thing that's weird. The only thing that's really weird about this deck is the Explosion and the SRKs come after the 3 difficulty attacks. So that you might have to adjust to. But other than that, I mean, this is just an insanely good deck for delivering a huge 1-2 punch to your opponent between Armin's discard and draw and Deforester's like destroy and build down and draw. It's kind of a discard and draw effect. I think you'll find that drawing the cards you need to win the game are definitely not going to be any problem at all. You should be able to keep up all kinds of insane offense, and unflipping and flipping things over and over is just a fun mechanic to abuse. So I felt like this character had a great avenue to do that. And again, it's very weird to me that the fire symbol has 2 different cards that unflip 2 foundations at once. But if I had a nickel for every time